grateful. This morning, our entire NFL family comes together to mourn the loss of an absolute NFL legend, Don Shula, the winningest coach in all of NFL history of all time. And he passed away, leaving us at the age of 90. Players, coaches, friends, analysts, fans of the NFL all came together and shared some of their fondest memories on NFL Network last night. Take a look.
Don Shula was like a second dad. You know, he was a mentor, not just a mentor as a football coach, but a mentor of men. He taught you right from wrong, but he also taught you perseverance. He taught you hard work and dedication, stick-to-itness, believing in yourself, believing in your teammates and your organization, the people around you. It was always about how you fit in to make the system work, the team work, the organization work. And, you know, what you see from a guy like Coach Shula is so many of his players, life after football, did well because of those life lessons he taught us.
For Don Shula, well, a legacy of winning was what it was about, but he had to win within the confines of the rules. In other words, if you cheated in any capacity, it meant nothing. He'd throw the whole thing out. He was a very dedicated individual to the integrity of the game as well as winning. And let me tell you one thing, folks, before we get off here. I don't know where old football players and old football coaches go, but wherever they go, wherever they call heaven, right now, there's a lot of growling and snorting and cussing going on because he just got there.
Love all those memories. They continue to pour in. He was a legend. And if we take a look at this, Schrags, I mean, he left his mark on the league forever, being known as one of the greatest coaches. He holds league records for most wins by a head coach. His 33, think about that, 33 consecutive years as a head coach is also a record. By the way, 31 of those 33 were winning seasons. What's the first thing you think about when you hear the name Don Shula, Schrags?
Dominance and longevity, and where he compares on this list. It's like Wayne Gretzky in hockey has so many records that just blow everyone out of the water that you might think they'll never get broken. I look at Don Shula's win record, and you take a look at some of his contemporaries and peers that are Hall of Fame coaches, guys that we revere on this show, and you look at what he won compared to them. His combined wins are 347, and a lot of those guys are with 14-game regular seasons. Look at Madden, Lombardi, and Jimmy Johnson. Together had 306. Belichick has to coach for another 10 years to catch up to what Shula did. Shula did it over such a long period of time and was so good. Kay, to your point, say it again, 33 seasons as a head coach in a row. 31 of those seasons, they were 500 or better. Think about that for a second, just how good a coach this man was and really what his coaching life covered. The Korean War on one end and Woodstock 94 on the other end. He was coaching with all of that, an unbelievable legacy. Don Shula will never be forgotten, and he's a all-time great.
It's really well said, Peter, and it's especially that wins mark when compared to Belichick. Remember, so many of the seasons that Coach Shula was coaching, they weren't even 16 games. So he had less bites at the apple and could win less games just mathematically. What I remember about Coach Shula was adaptability. The legacy for me is this. In the 70s, when the Dolphins were winning the Super Bowls and they were going undefeated, that was a running team. That was Zonka. That was tough. That was smash mouth. And that was his philosophy, and it worked. Then all of a sudden they get their hands on Dan Marino, and he completely changes. Now they're airing it out and setting passing records. There's so many coaches who I think are, this is my team, this is my system, this is how I run it. Get me players that fit me. He fit his players. And I think it's so appropriate that on the day he broke the all-time record, it couldn't have been more fitting. Dan Marino is injured. Dan Marino is out. The backup quarterback, Scott Mitchell, is out. So who does Coach Shula turn to? Guys, that's Doug Peterson, undrafted out of Northeast Louisiana, a former New York, New Jersey Knight and member of the Rhine Fire, of all places in Philadelphia. That's how Don Shula broke the record, with his 50th string quarterback, adapting to him, picking up key third downs in that game. It wasn't just sitting back and letting Marino be Marino. He was reaching down deep for a future coaching great, doing it with one hand behind his back, adapting to the roster in front of him rather than the roster to him. He was the first guy to do it. The Belichicks, the Shanahans who do it now, I feel like Coach Shula really put it on the map.
Well said. There are so many legends that we have in the game, and then there are gods among those legends. He stood like a tree, taller than everything, and because he did so well while he played and he had such an impact on players and coaches and families, that the fruit that he bears is amongst us. I mean, we're looking at the descendants of Don Shula, and I can appreciate the fact that we can celebrate his record, we can celebrate the championships, we can celebrate all of the football things that made him special as a coach. But what's most important, the footprints that he left on this world. And to be honest, man, the money will fade. Even these records will fade. Schrager talked about it. But what you do on earth will last forever. Like what we're talking about now, that's bigger than anything related to football. And if you want to parallel this to life, just hope when you're 70, 80, or maybe even 90 like Don was, that when you pass away, that your footprints will last a lifetime because everything else will fade. So I'm just thankful that men like him were walking amongst us and we can see every single day the direct results of the work that he put in.
It's so true, and he set the bar for sustained success. That's what looking at these numbers, absolutely unbelievable, especially when you do compare it, like you guys were saying, to Bill Belichick. And I could sit here and listen to those stories from former players and teammates and friends and family and you guys, your own memories all day long. So if you have any you'd like to share, please tweet us at GMFB. We are, of course, thinking and sending our love and prayers to the family, the NFL family involved in all of this as we continue to celebrate the life and the legacy of the absolute legend, Don Shula. We'll be back here on Good Morning Football in just a moment. So much to get to still. Listen, there's a couple brilliant pickups that were made in our little ecosystem, as Schrags puts it, in the NFL, that are really going to be game changers for some teams. Nate and Kyle, go to the basement break room.